Okay, so I was giving a talk at a conference several weeks ago, and my talk was on marketing, like social media marketing, guerrilla marketing, mostly for professional salespeople. And I had a realization about marketing and sales, and then how they kind of are tied together, and how we could actually model it almost from an economic standpoint. And so I just want to make a quick video on this. Because I put it into my presentation just before I gave the presentation, maybe even just an hour or two beforehand, as I was thinking this through the process, and how to explain some of my thoughts around marketing and sales, and how they're actually tied together and how it can be modeled. So from my time studying economics, I think some of that stuff kind of got reawakened in my mind while I was thinking this through, and I came to realize, okay, marketing and sales are inexplicably tied together in business, and so we could actually model it. So marketing in business is a function, as a function, is going to be the vehicle, right? So that could be TV, Facebook, newspapers, whatever the vehicle is. Okay, so you have the vehicle, whatever that is, multiplied. So you take your vehicle, we'll come down here, and we're going to multiply that by, we'll say, M, which is going to be money and time. This is our utility, money and time. Okay, so money and time multiplied by money and time, right? And then the time function could actually be a function of the ability, or the ability to create around the vehicle. So the vehicle and then the skills around the vehicle could be tied to time. We're going to say that money and time are on their own function, because those things are more quantifiable as far as plugging it in and actually measuring it. So as far as the vehicle, that vehicle is going to also have a function of skill or experience. Because what some people could do, let's say with Facebook, isn't going to be the same as what other people can do. Forgive my bad handwriting there. So the vehicle has a skill and experience function to it. We'll just call it V for now, for the aggregate function. And then money and time is our utility, which is a measurable thing. The V would be a little bit more quantifiable. So this is going to equate to brand equity, lay down sales, and market share, right? So we have brand equity. Those are different things too, okay? So that's going to be equal to, we're going to say B, and the B is brand equity market share and then also sales, but the resulting sales of these things are going to be lay down sales. Okay, they're going to be people at the bottom of the buying cycle, or the funnel, at the bottom of that funnel. They're pretty much ready to buy. They're at the end of the selling cycle. And this type of marketing and these types of things are going to kind of push them over the edge, unless somebody has more advanced V. They have more advanced marketing funnels and marketing cycles to bring people through a longer selling cycle or process through a marketing function, which is different than a selling function. So there will be sales. We're going to call them lay down sales. Right? Okay, so that's the B function. Right? So it's going to equate to B. So the vehicle, whatever the marketing vehicle is, and the skill level and expertise around that multiplied by money and time yields us B. Okay, so that's going to be our marketing function. All right. If we're going to plot that, we could actually come over here and say our level of B, we're going to plot that over here on this axis here. All right, on the y-axis. So we're going to put B over here. And then we're going to get our other function going, which is going to be sales. Right? So sales is going to be a function of B. It's actually pretty straightforward. You actually just take B. This is going to be brand equity, market share, lay down sales, what the marketing is yielding, and that's going to drive, that is actually going to be a function of sales. All of these things need to be there, right? Multiplied by the utility. This is a little bit harder to quantify, but this would be the utility of the salesperson. So we'll call it U. And U is equal to experience a combination of experience, training, and motivation. So it's the utility of the salesperson, experience, training, and motivation. So you multiply that through what actually happens, like hand-to-hand combat, or what happens on the sales floor through experience, training, and motivation. Okay, and then what we get is the sales function. It's going to be our final sales. Okay, and because what happens is, like, the lay down sales, those will get converted into higher end sales through the utility of the salesperson. The brand equity, so how strong the brand is, like when good salespeople sell really strong brands, they sell a lot of it. Market share, if a salesperson has a good market share to work with, or a book of business, that sort of thing, you can directly multiply that by their experience, training, and motivation. You can almost quantify those things too, and that's where I think this is interesting enough to make a video on. Is I think that measurement of the utility functions like money and time, experience, training, and motivation, the things that really create variables here, or even the skills and experience around the marketing function, are really the things that I think everyone is interested in measuring. On the sales end of it here is going to be our final driver. You know, where are the sales going? Overall, the aggregate. This is going to be aggregate sales. So if we were to model that, you know, and say our sales are going to be down here, right? Aggregate sales. And the S actually is not just sales, but it equates to customer equity, which is different than brand equity, but the sales are going to equal customer equity. Aggregate sales. We're going to have customer equity and aggregate sales as far as the final sales function. Okay. There's also a market share piece of this as far as the B function. You know, that's going to improve that as well. Every time sales happen, it improves market share. So market share is going to be part of this. I'm just not sure how it would play in. So we'd have market share. Because this is actually also tied into the B function. But it would improve it. And so these things would scale each other. The market share in the B and the market share in the S would scale each other. So we'll go ahead and put the S on the axis down here. So we'll say this is our S model, or the aggregate sales, customer equity, that sort of thing. So what will happen as you improve B, you could put money and time into marketing, become more skilled and experienced around the vehicle of marketing, and drive that up. As that value improves, what's going to happen is you will have laydown sales and you will improve market share. So sales, aggregate sales and market share will be affected by those things. So you will actually see an incline here, right? But on the aggregate sales side of things, as far as the utility of the salesperson, as we improve the S function, that's going to change the slope of the line. So let's say we're coming out here. And let's say, so we have a couple of examples. Let's say you have killer marketing. Let's say the B function is on fire. And we have this crazy amount of marketing going on. Lots of money and time going into it. Or we have very skilled marketing people with lots of experience that can master these things. Maybe they write really good copy. Maybe they're really good at social media. They find something that works with their market and they can crush with it. Okay, they're going to have a certain amount of sales. And then as those sales run into the salespeople, depending on the utility of the salespeople, the U function here, that's going to start changing the slope, right? So let's say it's bad. Let's say that the experience and training and motivation of the salespeople is low. They're still going to have a lot of laydown sales, and the marketing will capture end of cycle customers or end of sales cycle customers. It's going to capture brand equity and get the name out there of the company. It's going to grab market share. As the laydown sales happen, you start grabbing other people that buy the product. Maybe they tell their friends about it, and so maybe there are some auxiliary sales. So that's kind of happening, but there's going to be a point of return or diminishing return here where you're going to see that line kind of curve off, okay? And the money and time keep going in, right? And the vehicle just keeps getting throttled as well. You keep doing more and more and more with that vehicle, but the sales will drop off, right? There's going to be a point of drop off, right? So then we go over here in our B function being multiplied by the U. So then we have salespeople that are trained, they're experienced, and they're motivated, let's say. Because sometimes there's really experienced salespeople that aren't motivated and they don't do a good job, right? They're not doing their job. They lose the motivation. Or the training factor. There's things they just don't know to do that they should do in certain circumstances, and the marketing is actually driving them into those circumstances and they're failing. So, but let's say that we fix that with training, right? So we get some training going. Maybe we hire an experienced person and train them. And then we start with motivating on a daily basis or weekly basis, whatever. We start adding motivation function into there as part of the utility. What will happen and what can be modeled, we'll say that we'll use the red line for that scenario where we adjust the U function and turn that up, is the slope probably will be the same, but at the point where the diminishing returns happen, that is going to be much more gradual, right? So we're going to see a much more gradual drop off in aggregate sales when those things are measured and adjusted as well. And so you would see much higher level of aggregate sales with the U function. Okay, so I'm very interested in this model and thinking about it. And I know that, so a real economist is probably going to look at this and think that my chicken scratch looks like crap, and it does. But for me as a business person and a marketer, this becomes very interesting from a measurement standpoint. And so I'd like to maybe share more of this with you guys out there. I just posted this on my YouTube channel just for fun. As I kind of came to me while I was speaking on a panel in my industry. I'm in the vacuum and sewing machine industry. I'm a sewing machine retailer. I have 4 stores, and I run a team of salespeople. I do a lot of my own marketing, and I've been growing my business over the last 5 years. So I'm into a lot of this, and I studied economics in school, so some of that is what came through. And I realized this, and I wrote this out. I said, this is a good way to make my presentation very interesting, because at the end of the day, marketing and sales being a function of B and S, I thought, you know what? I got it all quantified in one thing. At the end of the day, marketing and sales is really just a bunch of B and S. It's a bunch of BS. All right? So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching my video.